GM Garcia and Van Trung to come on up. And GM is our dual language director, which is a new position this year, and we're really excited to have her on board doing it and to have this position just in general. It's like a really significant addition of capacity. And Van, who is newly leading our ESL department, and we're really excited about her leadership, and a lot has happened as the two of these women have taken the helm. So over to you.
Good evening, and thank you for this time. I'm GM Garcia, the Dual Language Director, and Van and I have worked together on a very short presentation, which I hope to be brief on and leave more room for discussion. The main topics really are the leadership around dual language and expansion of programs, as well as the service of English as a second language to students who are participating in dual language programs. So my tenure began this summer, and immediately we began to do some work within central office in building capacity for our administrators to basically have a better understanding so that we operationalize dual language in a way that is more faithful to the program pedagogy. And so in working with principals, we have monthly meetings, and our first meeting together was about their role in leadership. And I've been working with the RAs and a number of other departments basically to make this a part of what we do as opposed to an afterthought. And what we've been looking at is some of the systemic barriers we have to implementing the programs in quality ways, as well as some potential barriers around expansion, not barriers for the sake of excuses, but in a way of strategic planning so that we can overcome those and build sustainable programs. And so I will be going over a few of those barriers, and it's interesting that we're sandwiched between equity and enrollment transfer lottery. I've worked a lot with that department to identify what are some of the barriers for our more historically underserved populations to access these programs. And communication, again, just within ourselves, but also with the community. And taking a look at the K through 8 configurations, I'll go into a little more detail about that barrier and some potential solutions to that. And so we meet with the principals once a month, and one of the things that we've identified as a huge missing piece is the onboarding of principals who are new to dual language programs. And so as you heard earlier from our parent, there was a huge oversight on vacancy at Cesar Chavez that should have been filled with a bilingual teacher. And we had basically, in examining that, one of the questions that I came up with is how do we determine which principals are at dual language sites? And then second, what is it that we're doing to not only inform them of what that program is and what's required, but also to support them in implementing, because it does require some unique challenges around scheduling and communication with the families. And so in looking at that, I would love to have voice in inputting who goes where, and ideally we do have bilingual and bicultural administrators in these buildings, but that's not realistic. That's not the workforce that we have. And so when we look at folks who are leading dual language, it is ideal that they be bilingual, bicultural, but more importantly is that they know about dual language, the research behind it and what it takes to implement it, and that they're open to learning about that. So that's our work with principals, and we basically identified what their roles are and that they are going to be the spokespeople for their buildings. And so that has been more centralized in the past. It's been an initiative that really has come from central office in many of our schools. And like I said, the ownership is a huge piece of moving these programs forward. The other piece is in central office. We create a lot of policies and make decisions that have not had dual language at the forefront of those decisions that we're making. And so building that capacity really is raising the awareness of those around us and changing our practice. Example, textbook adoptions, things like that, so that it's not a reactive approach of we went with this initiative alternative. Now what does that mean for dual language? And then we are forming a parent advisory for dual language. In visiting the different sites and going to parent meetings, what I'm finding is there are common threads at different schools, and they all believe it is their unique issue in that community. And so secondary program development and expansion, hiring highly qualified staff, etc. So getting that all together in a way where it's reciprocal communication, where not only are we updating the parents on what our plans are, but we're also listening to concerns and questions that they may have. And so taking a look at some of the barriers, one of the biggest pieces is access. So these are programs that really in the research are designed to close the achievement gap of the speakers of that partner language. And what it is surprising how low the numbers of ELL students, particularly those who speak Spanish, are in participating. And as you saw in the report, we have increased that and made some really quick changes in the enrollment lottery process. One example is that we used to have a certain number of spots set aside for speakers of the partner language, Spanish in this case, and native English speakers got a certain number of slots. When we didn't fill the Spanish-speaking slots, we would then turn around and open those up to English speakers. So in working with enrollment and transfer last year, quite a few of our sites who were challenged to fill spots with target language speakers were able to do much better, and we have increased the percentage of students. But again, the historically underserved families are not only not aware of school choice and what the options are, but they also face barriers to accessing it. At this point, we use a lot of technology and the written word, and again, navigating a lottery system. And so we are conducting a survey with our principals so that we can quantify what are the equity issues, and then looking at what's some of the low-hanging fruit, things that we can change immediately that wouldn't have a huge impact on the overall community but would increase our access, and then identifying what are the long-range systemic issues that we do need to take on.